Welcome everybody to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan, welcome you here again today, every Monday morning, together with our co-host ACI for the past 42 weeks. Why do I count the weeks? Firstly, we have different episodes, but also the war has been going on. We started 2 weeks after the war started, and every week we bring you inspiring speakers in order to motivate and inspire us, and on the other hand, to give us inspiration, tips, and to give exposure to Israeli business owners, individuals, and organizations. So today I have a very special guest. Yes, every week I tell you I have a very special guest. Today, my special guest also happens to be a very good friend who I've known for many, many years. I have to think back, it's probably 25, maybe even 30 years ago, and we were actually ex-neighbors too. So I'm going to actually spotlight her, and then I'll tell you a little bit about who our guest is. So in addition to our guest who's going to be sharing with us about herself, she's going to be telling us about her Aliyah story. She's going to be telling us what it's like working with seniors and a lot more, giving us some tips too. Here, let me focus on her now. Lisa, good morning, Lisa Marcus. Lisa's also advised me personally dealing with my elderly father. So let's get right into it. Lisa is a gerontology consultant. She's been doing this for many, many years. She's been running also the Maaleh Adumim seniors group for over 12 years. And she works with adult seniors or adults who are dealing with their senior parents, who are often known, and I'm sure she'll mention this, as the sandwich generation, where we're dealing also with our children and maybe grandchildren as well as with our parents. So it's a super important function and a super important profession, because as we know, there are many people that deal with the seniors themselves, but here you need someone to deal with the children of the seniors who are adults. So Lisa, welcome to our show. We look forward to hearing all about your Aliyah story, what brought you to make Aliyah, your wonderful family who I happen to know personally. Good morning to Jeff, your husband who is here. Wonderful to have you. And we look forward to hearing your whole story and sharing some tips with us. So take it away.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Boker Tov, lovely to see you all. Well, I can't really, but part of you I can see. And it's an honor to be here. And you should all know, I missed out Pilates for this, so this is very important. Unfortunately, 9 o'clock is just too early for my Pilates class. And that's something I want to talk later on about, how important it is that we've do our sport. It's so important anyway. So so thank you, Lesley, for hosting me today. And once again, those I can see, lovely to see you all. My name's Lisa Marcus, originally from Sydney, Australia, the beautiful Bondi Beach. I grew up on Bondi Beach, to a lovely, warm family, very Zionistic family. Both my parents were born in Australia, both of them, which is very unusual for our generation. I have a huge family in Australia, Baruch Hashem, about 16 first cousins, which is very unusual. And my parents, it was very important for them that we went to a Jewish day school, very Zionistic. And I just knew, I remember when I was 10 years old, I don't know how I got into the school choir. I have an awful voice, but I was in the choir, and I remember singing, and it was the 25th anniversary of Israel, and it made such an impression on me, singing Hatikva, and I was going, this is the place we need to be. But I remember that made a huge impression on me. Anyway, as school went on, and it was time after school. I mean, I applied for university in Australia, which later on my mum kept deferring, of course. But I came for a year to Israel. I knew it wasn't for me to be on kibbutz or to be in a yeshiva or anything like that. Anyway, so I was on this semi thing. I was in Machon Gold, which unfortunately does not exist today. Very, very run by the Sochnot, and I did the teachers program there. And I made a lot of very close friends there. To this day, I'm still in contact with them. And so I had places to stay all over the world. And anyway, and then that made a huge impression on me. And another year snowballed into another year. And then I had this juk in my head that I had to do the army or Shrut Lumi, national service. And I ended up in an Emunah children's home in Neve Michael. And I was in charge of I mean, I was only 21 and I was in charge of these 10-year-olds. I mean, thank God now it's a whole different system they have there. They have family units, and that also made a huge impression on me. And I continued doing teaching here in studying teaching. And then I went back to Australia. I kept going back asking for permission to stay another year, etc. And it sort of just happened, the Aliyah, that I knew that was something really important. And then I officially made Aliyah in 1986. And like I said, my parents were very, 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 very for Israel. And anyway, so then I started teaching here, and then I met my husband, who's originally from Manchester, England, and we now live in Maaleh Adumim. Now, if you would have told me so many years ago that my parents would have made Aliyah, I wouldn't have believed you. We had a huge zchut that they did make Aliyah. And I'll never forget when my mum, late mum, rang and she said, "Lisa, we're coming on Aliyah." I said, "Well, where are you going to go?" Thinking she'd go to where Lesley's in Netanya or Yerushalayim. And she said, "No, Maaleh Adumim, near you up the road." And it was very interesting, people's reactions where we lived. I mean, it was very clever when I see now what families are going through, having a parent in a different continent, or let alone in just another city or whatever. So that was a big zchut. And as husband will tell you, they lived 8 buildings up the road from us, but it was very convenient, and especially as they grew older and unfortunately became sick. So it was very helpful having them up the road. So then I
just want to add that I had the zchut of knowing both your parents and really loving both your parents, and I think the entire neighborhood kind of adopted them. They were just like loved by everybody.
They were everyone's adopted grandparents, and I'll never forget when they were chosen to light. We have a lovely ceremony in Mitzpenavo. Unfortunately, after Yom HaZikaron going into Yom HaTzmaut, we have a whole lovely ceremony. And once my late parents were chosen to light that lapid, L'Tiferet Medinat Yisrael, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the audience. It was very, very special. And actually, when both my parents died, both at the Shivers, I think I had to comfort the whole community. They were meant to come and comfort me, but I ended up comforting them. Anyway, so that was a huge zchut. And then then I end up working for Emunah, the National Religious Women's Organization. I was a coordinator. I organized shiurim, Beitei Midrash, lectures, fashion shows, whatever you want, together with Lesley for many, many years. She was my right-hand woman. And then slowly, we realized there was a need in the community, that a lot of the Anglos weren't going to the local Moadon for the seniors group. So I was approached at the time by the late Nuriel Getz, Zichron Livracha. And so I was very fortunate. My boss at the time at Emunah said, "Lisa, this is just for you." So I end up, for the past 12 years, have been running the English-speaking seniors group. It's I don't know how I've done this. It's quite a miracle. I'm like this magician. Every week I manage to get a volunteer speaker. Sometimes I don't succeed. It's the Lisa Marcus show. We have a lot less coming for that. Actually, no, that's not true. And then but what's also very interesting, when we have fascinating lectures, and the group of people that come, whether men, women, religious, non-religious, a very curious group. So certain topics we have to keep away from. But overall, it's quite amazing. And then I realized I needed more tools, one to deal with the group, and also my parents were getting on. I mean, then my dad died, unfortunately, and he was very, very sick. And I'll never forget when Rav Katz, the Rav of Maaleh Adumim, he calls me when my dad died. He goes, "Lisa, do you need help organizing the funeral?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh no, I can do this on my own." I said, no, Lisa, you've been through. I missed out a few chapters in my life between all of the fertility, the adoption, the cancer, and all that. That's maybe another time. And I said, yeah, I've done fashion shows, I've done Beit Midrash, but I've never organized a funeral before. I said, yes, please, Harav, please help me with that. And that's one weird thing we can learn, everyone, accepting help. We're not meant to know everything. And that brings us into the aging. You know, no one teaches us about aging. So then I see mummy's getting on also and becoming very frail and all these weird and wonderful diseases. And then suddenly I see this advertisement about Machon Beer Emunah, and they were offering a gerontology consulting course for 2 years. So I went for it, and it was, for me, even just for that, learning that, it was just perfect timing. As I said, my mum was very sick, in and out of hospitals. And I will never forget, the doctor calls me to the side and he says to me, he says, Lisa, you know, we were already on first names terms by this stage. He goes, what's the future for your mum? And I said, well, her name's Rosalie. It's not very rosy. He goes, listen, we can't help her anymore. He goes, I think you should think about a hospice. So, oh my God, how am I going to even say that word? I couldn't even verbalize that word. And I said, all right, this is a challenge. And what are we going to do with it? We know we learn all kinds of from others. Now, I'm not talking about people with serious cognitive issues. They're going on, and we have to try and think. And we can't make all the decisions. We're not allowed to make the decisions. They're our parents. And that's another thing. We have to be very careful of that parent, child, that role. Yes, we're still that child. We're an adult child, but we have to know. And it's very difficult knowing that fine, delicate line. So I said, all right. I said, Hashem, I need your help, mate. How am I going to do this? Now, I was a very respectful daughter, and I would have said in my words, okay, mummy, there's nothing they can do for you in the hospital. You know, they're throwing us out. You don't trust me. You don't trust the foreign worker. We're going to the hospice. I mean, I would have said it in a nice way, but he said, no, I can't do that. I have to think, how am I going to do it with dignity and with respect? And I thought, and I gave thought about it. And then I said, I went into the room and I said, I've got a lovely brother, Danny, who lives in London, who used to, every time we needed my dad, he needed help with both my parents, he came. So I said, Mummy, Danny's coming in tomorrow. Do you give us permission to go check this place out? I mean, I couldn't say the word hospice. I didn't say the word. I said, can we check and see if this place is suitable for you? A tear dropped and she said, go. I got her blessing. I got that gushbankta. And I have met so many people that have felt guilty. I don't want any of you to feel guilty, but please, no, that's not my, the thing is, we don't want to feel guilty. We want to give them the permission to decide if they're able to, what they want, and understanding what they want. And you know what? She was there for all of 9 days, but they restored her dignity and the respect. And that was a very aha moment for me, that that was sort of my message. I wanted to be able to share that with people because it made such a huge difference to me. And I was wondering, perhaps I can do that for other people. And that's when I started afterwards, after I finished the course, and I started doing workshops around the dining room table at home. And then And very often we're in doctor surgeries and the doctors don't always know how to speak to our parents. And that's another thing, the importance of going together with our parents, if they let us, okay, that's another thing. You know, my late dad had cancer. And at the beginning, the doctor said to him, oh, you've got a nasty polyp. Well, what's a nasty polyp, you know? And my dad didn't quite catch on. You know, and sometimes we need to be there and to be their advocate and to fight for them for their rights, etc. So and I remember one of the first lessons, the shurim I had in the course, Rav Benny Lau, he had just finished setting shiva for his late father. And he said, we just read in the parsha a few weeks ago, V'etchanan and Shamar and the 10 Commandments, lechabed et avicha ve'et imecha. Now, most people translate lechabed as to respect, to have dignity and honor, etc. But he said, look at the shorish of that word. Lechabed is kaf bet daled. It's kaved, and it is heavy. And it's nothing to be taken lightly. And I think more adult children realize that we do have a job. And some of us don't even realize that we've become carers for our parents. And we're in denial that our parents are getting fragile, etc. And whose responsibility is it? But we don't want it to be heavy. The thing is making it's meaningful and something that we have to take seriously, and how we can do it. And it doesn't mean we have to do everything. And which brings me to we're in a war, right? And it's like sort of going on, but it's not going on. We've all had son-in-laws that have been up north, wherever, and I applaud. I mean, we're not there yet, but we just had a wedding. That so many of my friends and a lot of the people who have participated in my workshops, I can see what they're all going through, and I take my hat off to all of you, the ones that are young, the grandmothers, that some of them still have children at home, that you have grandchildren, and you are blessed to have parents as well. Like, you don't know what to do first. And we've got Sabas and of course son or son-in-laws off in Miluim. So you get landed, all the kids are at your place too. And you're dafka off that week. I mean, I applaud you all. And it's not an easy thing. And sometimes we have to choose who we're looking after first. We have to try not putting out fires, and that's why I do these workshops, to try to prevent things. It's nothing worse getting a phone call Thursday afternoon. I'm putting in a cake in the oven. Someone's in crisis. I go, no, I don't deal with crisis. We want to try preventing things. We don't always know what's going to happen, but some things we can have in place beforehand, and that's something really to think about. I was very blessed that suddenly the local geriatric social worker, who I love dearly, who actually helped me with my late parents, she started hearing that I was doing some workshops. And she goes, what do you do in these workshops? And I said, I bring a bit of Maslow and a bit of this psychologist and that, a bit of Yiddishkeit in here. She goes, how can you bring Maslow into a workshop? I said, you have to understand, and I had a meeting with her, and I had to explain, we have to understand what makes our parents tick, and sometimes, Maslow, that bottom part of the pyramid, go look at it. If some of you don't know, go look up Maslow, was it Psychology 101 or something? It's that basic thing that, look, my late mum, she was dying from, don't ask, she had cirrhosis of the liver, but she had, something was the matter, she couldn't eat. And that was like the basic thing. And until we were able, at the hospital at the time, they didn't have a dentist. We had to bring in a private dentist. So I had to think, how am I going to deal with this? She's not worried about the liver situation. She wants to be able to eat. And that's what we have to find out. Sometimes, I know we were just in England with my mother-in-law and etc. And sometimes they're giving them all this medication, and other clients that I've had, the parents don't want to take the medication. They don't want to take the pain medication because of the codeine. It's mucking up their stomach, or they become like that awful drug, what is it, Oxycodone or something. Like, it makes them absolute zombies. So that's where we have to keep our eyes open and realize that the doctors are there to help us, but we also have to be there. Hang on, I just need a drink, my lovely drink. We're drinking, what's it? Biz with Lesley. Hang on just one second.
L'chaim.
And I think, one of my favorite words are yatziv, stable. And, things aren't going to be tuck in how they used to be. and we don't want to rock the boat. And sometimes there is a crises have to happen again, have to happen for maybe sometimes for things to change. Same thing in that Hebrew word, mashber, in that word is shever. And sometimes we don't want to break anything. We really don't want to break anything. But sometimes, it's very hard. How do you convince a parent to start with a walker or a cane, to stop driving? Oh my God, the list is just endless. And sometimes we're going to lose those battles, and it's okay. And Tom, I'm giving you it all in one go. But anyway, good enough is good enough. In Hebrew, it's metapel tov dai. And I think the sooner we realize that, the better. We can only try, and sometimes we have very stubborn parents, and that's what it is. And we can only try. We can only try our best, really. And I also highly recommend, they laugh at me at home. I'm always reading these books about dying, or go to films about end of things, but people don't like talking about this. And I have no trouble going to a shiva house, whatever. And you know what? You don't have to always talk at a shiva house. That's another thing, whatever. But anyway, Being Mortal by Dr. Atul Gawande. I highly recommend it all. He's an American doctor with Indian descent, and I think the Indians and the Jews are very similar, and it's about being mortal. And look, there's never been so many generations before. I know my late mum never knew her grandparents, and people are living longer, and we're having to deal with the consequences, and very blessed, and it's wonderful to have so many generations.
Lisa, I want to ask you two things which I'd like you to address. The one is the guilt factor, that I hear this from a lot of adults, in terms of that often we feel that guilty that we're not doing enough for our parents. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. And also, if you could mention something, at what stage do we just need to take things into our own hands and not give our parents a choice? Because you're very big on telling us that we need to give our parents a choice. At what stage do you advise your clients that they need to take things into their own hands?
If their safety is at risk, falling down, all they need, God forbid, is that fall and break that hip and get pneumonia. It's just sort of downhill. It's not always like that. I'm painting you, but it can, and getting that help. We're very lucky in Israel. I was just in England. Oh my God, the health system in England, public, is just terrible. We are very lucky in Israel to have as much some people complain, but the Kupat Cholim are amazing. They have the most amazing services. Even everyone goes on about Bituach Lamed. Listen, they're there to help us. Parents have been paying for so many years. Use them. And the Bituach Lamed, you can start off slowly with a matavit for a few hours, and to help out with the shopping, so you're not doing everything, and sort of giving their independence. But we have to be careful that their safety is not at risk. Are they taking their medicine properly? And about getting out of bed and all those types of things. Hang on, someone's just entered the room. And the guilt, we're guilty about everything. We're guilty about our children. We're guilty. We don't spend enough time with a husband. We don't enough with that. We're always guilty. We've got this guilt complex. We're Jewish. Can I tell? Well, no. Anyway, we're all guilty. But we have to, it's hard. It's very hard. But I think the main thing is that we know that we've done our utmost, like this, what good enough is good enough. And we know that we've tried our best. And if we're not able to be somewhere, then do you know what? Sometimes we have to employ someone. And I'm telling you, the grandchildren are excellent. You can avoid a lot of World War IIIs with grandchildren, really. You can, Safta, I'd like you to come for Shabbat or whatever, or maybe you'll come out with us. They'll tell you no, but maybe they'll listen to the grandchild. I think that's very important. Also, what makes them tick, understanding what makes them tick, whether it's a neighbor, neighbor, a friend, someone else from the community that could perhaps persuade them more than they would listen to us. That's for sure. And we have to sometimes listen to their wishes. Like I said, okay, I gave you that hospice story, but I've got plenty of clients and people just wanted to go home and be on their pillow, whatever. And we have to respect that, which is very important. Let's see what else I wanted to say. Okay, any other questions there?
I'll just comment, Lisa, that firstly, and we've had these discussions before, I can identify, and I'm sure there are many people here that I can identify with so many of the things you're saying. And even just this past Shabbat, my dad, who is Hashem, is going to be 89 in 2 weeks' time. And we took the decision of moving him from Maaleh Adumim to Netanya. I'll say that again, we took the decision because it wasn't his decision. He was actually against moving, but a lot of seniors, as we know, until they see, and even with us, often until we get to the other side, we don't realize how good it is. We're resistant to change. And maybe you just want to end and talk something about that, about with seniors. I'm sure they're even more, and from what I've experienced, was resistant to change than many other ages.
Oh, absolutely. And if they've been perhaps a bit stubborn beforehand, they're only going to get a bit worse later on. And yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you have to say, look, it's for me. Please just do it for my sake. If not for your sake, my sake. And I mean, your dad's stairs were, oh my God, that was just a disaster.
I know, I could barely get up the stairs.
How many stairs were there, Lesley? How many stairs were they?
Exactly. And what you said now is very important. Sometimes we have to emphasize that we have to do it for ourselves. And that's exactly what we did now. Just the last month, we've got someone that's through Bituach Leumi that's been giving some hours. And my dad, once again, was very against it. And I said to him, Dad, I need it. I need the help because right now I'm doing a lot for you. I want to come and be able to have fun with you, go out for lunch with you, not to be your carer, that we can have fun together. And when I focused it on me, that I needed the help, then he was more open to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you think my late mum enjoyed having all these the foreign workers in her kitchen? No.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, Lisa, wow. So we've come to the end of an amazing 30 minutes. I knew that you would be inspiring, and Lisa has a lot more to offer and is even more inspiring. Just tell our listeners very quickly, those that are joining live as well as those that are watching the recording, how do they get hold of you? I know that you do also workshops as well as one-on-one consulting, also via Zoom as well as individually. What's the best way to reach you, or if they have any questions?
Well, if you're lucky and live in Maaleh Adumim, we have a lovely thing with the local geriatric social worker. We do workshops together. But if not, we can do it on Zoom. I'm willing to go to cities. If you'd like to organize a group in your area to come and do a workshop, I can do Zoom on Zoom consultation. And the best way is to be email, write to me, tell me you'd be interested in perhaps joining a webinar, a consultation, a workshop. Just be in contact with me and I will write down.
Give us your email address. You can say that out loud here.
Okay, so it's Lisa Marcus, Lisa Marcus, SAMARCUS, and 2829, the digits 2829. Let me try at gmail.com.
Okay, amazing. And Lisa is also on social media. Sometimes she's not as active as what I joke with her that she should be more active. Yes, but she is on Facebook, so you can reach her there, like and connect with her on Facebook. She has a business page on Facebook too. And Lisa is a great source. If you're having, as I learned myself, if you're having any challenges with your parents, want to be able to do more for them, are not sure about the right way to manage things with them, Lisa is a great source, whether it's through her workshops or individual. So Lisa, my good friend, great to see you on screen and wonderful to have you as our guest on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Thank you very much for sharing things with us, for sharing a bit about your story, as well as for giving us some tips on how to deal with our aging parents. I thank you for joining, whether you joined live or whether you're listening to the recording. Thank you again to our co-host, ACI. You've been listening to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan, bringing you every single Monday, inspiring people and inspiring and motivating us to move forward in our challenging country right now. Am Yisrael Chai. We wish our soldiers safe, our hostages, Bezrat Hashem, a safe return, and may we only have smachot and not hear any bad news when we wake up in the morning. Thank you for joining.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
again,
Lesley,
Lisa.
and thank you,
we will see
everyone.
you
We
next
shall
week.
have a quiet day. Be well. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Okay.
Hold up.
Bye-bye.